Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate the opportunity to join this subcommittee hearing today to discuss the real-life consequences of open border and sanctuary policies. Under New York Governor Kathy Hochul, New York City Mayor Eric Adams, our Democrat-run state has become a haven for illegal immigration that has had a devastating impact on our finances and put public safety and public health at risk. I want to thank one of our panelists testifying here today, Mr. Blakeman, for being a voice of common sense in a sea of nonsense in New York State. You have done a tremendous job since you were sworn in as county executive, and I want to salute you for that.
Thank you.
The cost of New Yorkers is on pace to total $12 billion by 2025. In New York City, tax-paying citizens, they are now facing draconian cuts to public safety and education to pay for this self-made crisis. And though the southern border is 2,000 miles away from leftist-run New York City and is on the other end of the state from my district in western New York in the southern tier, this crisis has arrived on our doorstep as well and the doorsteps of every county in the state of New York. This year, 5 of my 7 counties within New York's 23rd congressional district have been forced to pass emergency declarations as the influx of illegal migrants has overwhelmed our communities and strained our resources. Now, prior to this influx of migrants, many upstate counties were already struggling under these far-left policies that have put an incredible economic strain on our local governments, our property taxpayers, and our businesses. The people of my district, they didn't want to pay for this crisis, yet they're being forced to shoulder the burden. Sheriff Favreau, your county, Clinton County in the North Country, has a lot of similarities to my district, including weather. Now, let's say our climate's not quite what it is on the southern border. You mentioned that in your testimony that the struggle is just to provide adequate clothing for migrants who are being relocated to your county from the south. This is just one small aspect of the cost, but can you elaborate any further on how the influx of illegal migrants has strained your county's resources, particularly on the law enforcement and first responder end?
Well, as we've heard from everybody, resources have been dwindling. Costs that counties will dish out has been dwindling. So therefore, the staffing is shorter than it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. The mental health status on all emergency responders has increased. I've seen nothing like it except for our 9/11 tragedy. And certainly I hope that we don't have to wait for something like that to happen again before we can open our eyes and say, what are we going to do about this? What we're seeing is the responses from not just volunteer firefighting services, but all of our law enforcement. We're seeing partnerships try and develop because we know there should be no politics in law enforcement. We are here to protect and serve every resident and guest of our respective counties. And I say that on behalf of all 3,000 plus sheriffs across the country. That is our job. That is our sworn duty. And to enter politics in to formulate an opinion, even as was insinuated earlier, I think I'm the only Democrat on this board. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The decisions I make, the work I do is based upon what is best for the people in my community and my fellow colleagues in all areas of law enforcement. And those are the decisions that we make, and we have to continue to do that. We're just asking for support to be able to get that component of our job done. I don't think that's a lot to ask.
Thank you very much for your professionalism. Law enforcement in my own district has spoken in very similar fashion about how this crisis has impacted their ability to operate and to keep our community safe on top of New York's elimination of cash bail and discovery reform. Now, you mentioned in your testimony that the federal government, particularly DHS, Department of Homeland Security, has left communities like yours in Clinton County to their own devices to operate using state and local resources to deal with this crisis. Are you seeing enough assistance coming from the state to make up for the lack of help from DHS?
In short, I could say no. We do get state law enforcement terrorism prevention program funds. The amounts that we get are very, very small, and the little bit of equipment that we can purchase. We have a special response team that's a tri-county team that we actually put together due to a lot of volunteer work from the members of Clinton, Essex, and Franklin counties to be able to respond to emergency situations. They end up doing their own private fundraising and taking money out of their pockets to provide life-saving equipment for the teams.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate your testimony and being here today. Finally, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to enter into the record today a letter I led with my colleagues in the Northern Border Security Caucus to Secretary Mayorkas, as well as the response received to the letter from the Department of Homeland Security.
Without objection, Mr. Langworthy.
Thank you, and I yield back.